At this very moment, 3 a.m. in Israel, IDF forces continue to pound the Gaza Strip with airstrikes, and Hamas continues to fire rockets into Israel, while IDF ground forces are taking up every position along the border with Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of IDF troops are waiting for orders for the next phase of the war, and new clashes are still breaking out between Israeli troops, police, and Hamas fighters. And right now, Gaza is under a total blackout, with its only power plant being shut off hours ago. The more than 2 million people there were cut off from electricity and water, and right now are under constant threat of bombardment. As it stands right now, the death toll in Gaza has topped 1,500 people, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, and that includes 500 children. In Israel, the latest numbers show at least 1,300 have been killed since Saturday's attacks, and over 100 are still missing, either feared dead, unidentified, or being held hostage. Among those killed, 27 Americans and more than a dozen possibly kidnapped by Hamas.
And if there's any way to help, like, first priority are our friends and family that are now in Gaza. We're strong here, we're powerful here, in this place, now in Tel Aviv and everywhere.
Also right now, fears of an expanding war, the lingering questions about Iran's connections to Hamas, and new reports of bombs being dropped at airports in Syria, and a growing show of force from the U.S. in that region. All of this as scenes of air raids and Iron Dome interceptions play out in real time. And the person you saw on the ground there just a second ago, that was Ellison Barber taking cover again. Ellison Barber joins us now from Tel Aviv. So glad you're safe again. Had everybody here worried about you. Can you take us through what happened today?
Yeah, you know, I think it's always just a bit of a reminder of what things are like here right now. You hear that air raid siren, and it typically is seconds before you hear something whizzing over your head and you hear booms. And in that instance, a couple days ago, we were near a shelter and we were able to run and get into a shelter. But in other situations, you're not. And the only thing you can do is get as low to the ground as possible and then just stay there. This, I think, is another moment where we were reporting on air and they just flew over our heads coming from various directions. The back and forth is increasing as we were finishing reporting and on the outskirts of Ashkelon, just about 2 miles from the Gaza border this evening. The sun had set, it was getting dark, and we could hear the constant boom of some sort of bombardment going on inside of Gaza, and it sounded like thunder. There wasn't much coming out at that moment, but there constantly is something that is changing here on the ground, be it missiles being fired out, being fired in, being intercepted, or just kind of the lull of the boom as you get further away, which is usually the sound of Israeli forces bombarding Gaza. Gadi.
And then you've got the tanks moving into position, the troops moving into position. Anything new on the buildup at the border and the timing of a possible ground operation?
Yeah, you know, it certainly seems like it could happen at any minute. And I know when you say that in war and then it doesn't happen in a minute or two, it feels like it took forever. But it is something that appears to be coming very soon, whether it's minutes, hours, or days. They have amassed a massive amount of equipment, tanks at the border with Gaza. We saw it today. We saw it yesterday as we were on the side of a highway. A number of tanks just drove right underneath the bridge where we were standing, and you could see they were full with Israeli soldiers with their weapons out, headed towards the direction of Gaza. The day before, we'd seen a section of an area near the Gaza border through the trees along a highway, and there were at least 100 Israeli tanks and military vehicles there. And in the last hour, I spoke with a spokesperson for Israel's Defense Force and asked him that question. Is it fair when people are saying that a ground assault into Gaza is imminent? And he said, we have made our plans very clear. They intend to go in and get Hamas. They feel they did not start this war, that Hamas did, but from Israel's perspective, they plan to finish it, and they are going to go in, it appears, with a lot of force. And unfortunately, what that will likely mean is high civilian casualties amongst Palestinians, because the fact is you have 2 million people inside of the Gaza Strip with no way out. No humanitarian corridors have been established. None of the border crossings on the Israeli side are open. Israel says that's because one of the ones up on the north, the Erez crossing, that was bombed at one point by Hamas, and that's why that one couldn't be open, even if they wanted to, they said. And then there's the border with Egypt. That is not open in any real sense to civilians who want to leave. So you have this situation where hundreds of thousands of people are having to just try and seek shelter as best they can as their entire community comes under a constant bombardment of Israeli airstrikes into the area. Israel says they do their best to avoid hitting civilians. They accuse Hamas of using civilians as human shields and storing weapons in areas where they know civilians are located. But all of that, regardless of your opinion of that, the reality is, the one thing we know for sure is that civilians have lost their lives. More civilians likely will lose their lives, and a lot of them will be in Gaza and Palestinians. Gadi.
The brutal realities of war. Ellison Barber, thanks so much. Please stay safe. NBC chief correspondent Ali Velshi, who is in Ashkelon, Israel. Ali, from what I understand, you're about 2 miles away from the border, right? And I can see, I mean, it looks like bullet holes possibly in the car in front of you. What's the situation there on the ground?
Well, that's what's interesting to see. This is actually a shrapnel from a rocket or a mortar. There have been many hits in Ashkelon. Just imagine if you were in a car when this happened. This car was obviously parked and unoccupied. But look at the type of damage that's just from a rocket or a mortar that landed over there. This is basically the shrapnel from it, the rocks from the ground that it hit, that it churns up. And you're absolutely right. If you saw this out of context, you'd think it's riddled with bullet holes. This is stones. This is part of the whatever it was, a rocket or a mortar. And by the way, I mean, you can see over there right behind me, windows are blasted out and things are damaged over there. Same thing over here. Shop fronts completely gone. All the windows, everything, you know, the ceilings in the floors above are all gone. And this is just one of those projectiles that came in from Gaza. So imagine we've been seeing that on night one, it was more than 2,000 of them. And of course, that was a very big surprise to the Israeli Defense Forces that there were that many munitions. There are estimates that Gaza maybe had 20 or 25,000 of these kind of weapons. Important to note, by the way, for people who are listening to the story when we make references to the north of the country and Hezbollah. Hezbollah is thought to have more than 150,000 of these sort of projectiles, including missiles, and things that are much more accurate. These are sort of, one might describe them as dumb bombs. They're a projectile that fires out, but no guidance systems or things like that. They're basically a big mortar. So that's important to understand why it's so important to Israel and its allies and the United States to keep Hezbollah out of this fight, which is why there's a battle group of ships in the Mediterranean over there. They are here to sort of send a signal to Iran, which supports Hezbollah, Iran, which is involved in Syria, to say, stay out of this fight, let Israel and Hamas figure this out on their own. But this is the kind of thing that we're seeing all over southern Israel, this kind of damage. And of course, this is not even accounting for all of the bodies that they still haven't found, and that the massacres and the deaths at the kibbutzim that are around here. So you're getting a sort of a picture of, on the ground, the fear that people who were living in this part of the country have been fearing, had been thinking about since Saturday. And remember, Gadi, Saturday's not that long ago. In the Jewish faith, people are supposed to be buried within 24 hours. That's not been a reality for anyone. They didn't have their bodies. They still don't have their bodies. So all of this speaks to the grief, the anger, the frustration, and in many cases, the desire for vengeance on Hamas that is playing out right now 2.5 miles in front of me and is, again, going to result in more deaths for Israeli soldiers and for Gazan civilians.
Such a visual representation. So often we think of those rockets and then we just think of a contrail, and just seeing it up close like that. Ali, thank you so very much. I do want to ask, though, we saw these reports today of leaflets being dropped today on Gaza, and the leaflets possibly warning people to evacuate. Do we know where people, civilians, were told to go in Gaza? And what's the latest on a possible humanitarian corridor?
That's an interesting question, Gadi. We don't know. They weren't told where to go. They were told that the area in which you live is going to be targeted, so get out. These leaflets were done, and it's been used before, obviously, all the way going back to the First World War. But the idea is that power's been cut off to Gaza. There isn't electricity. People's phones are running out of charge. They don't have and the communication infrastructure is also supplied by Israel. At the best of times, you get 3G service there. So communication is poor. The leaflets they thought might be an effective way to warn people to get out. And as a result, people have gotten out. Lots of people are out. 300,000 people at last count, and probably within a couple of hours we'll get a new count, are out of their homes in Gaza. Some of them because their homes have already been destroyed. Some of them because they're worried that their homes are going to be destroyed. Now, remember the hostage situation. Hamas had said that for every house that is destroyed without warning, they will kill one hostage. Israel is now providing warning that we're going to come to your house. Now, they get out of their house. There aren't a lot of places to go. The interesting thing about Gaza is it's very narrow and it's very densely populated, but the biggest part of the population is right over the border here. Gaza City is a couple of miles from the border, as you know. Down in the further, the Egyptian side of things, it gets a little more rural, and that's the problem. There's not a lot of place for people to go. There is Egypt. That border crossing's been bombed, and the Egyptians don't typically let them in. So Secretary Blinken was saying today, when asked about that, is there some arrangement for a humanitarian corridor, somewhere for them to go? And he made a relatively oblique reference to the fact that perhaps he left Israel, he went to Amman, Jordan today, and then he's off to Doha in Qatar, where there are going to be discussions both about the negotiations for the release of hostages, because a lot of that kind of stuff happens in Qatar, and a discussion about humanitarian aid or a corridor. But mainly that's going to be a discussion with Egypt, because if they're not coming out through Israel, there's only one other choice when you're in Gaza, and that's Egypt. But for the Gazans, at the moment, nowhere to go.
And when it comes to aid, I mean, it's not the best case scenario here, but at least getting aid in, does that look like it's imminent, or does it look like there's going to be a bunch more talks before we see anything like this happen and go into Gaza?
Yeah. No, we're not close. The energy minister in Israel, in announcing the cutoff of electricity, food, and water, had made the point. He said nothing will get switched on until the hostages are released. So there is nothing going into Gaza. The only things going into Gaza in an official capacity go through Israel or go through Egypt. The border crossings are both closed, so nothing goes in. Now, as a result of this years of blockade, Gaza has developed I wouldn't call it sophisticated, but a robust manufacturing sector. They make all the things that most people just import or can import. So there's if you get candy bars and potato chips and things like that, there are imported versions, but there are Gazan-made versions of them as well. However, the factories are all shut down because there's no fuel to power the one power station in all of Gaza, so there's no electricity that goes out. People had auxiliary generators, hospitals had auxiliary generators, but they're all running out. The country ran out of fuel yesterday morning for the power stations. Everybody else who had fuel is running out by today or by tomorrow morning. So everything is shut down. That's why food is running low, water is running low, fresh water is running low. And I mean, it's a country by the sea, but it's salt water. You can't drink that. So, no, this is a humanitarian disaster in the offing as we speak. And by the way, we're hearing jets constantly above us right now, and we're hearing the percussion of the missiles landing in Gaza. And I will tell you, there's a lot of it tonight, Gadi.
Ali Velshi, such incredible reporting. We hope you stay safe. I mean, thank you so much for the 360-degree view from the ground there. Ali, stay safe. And we are starting to get a firsthand look at the site of that music festival where authorities say some 260 people were killed by Hamas. NBC News' Raf Sanchez has more.
The sun was rising, but the music played on. 3,500 young people at the Supernova Music Festival dancing into the early hours. At first, moments of confusion. And then, sheer terror. Heavily armed Hamas gunmen closing in from all sides. Some joining a desperate stampede across the fields. Others hiding and praying for rescue.
I saw a group of girls in the car, just so afraid to get out, and I realized that if they're gonna stay there, they're gonna get killed. So just take them and scream at them, just run so fast, is because I understand that if the people that get freeze, they're gonna die.
More than 260 people killed in a massacre that went on for hours. Others kidnapped and dragged into Gaza. Today, we walked the ghostly site ourselves.
This was a place of music, a place of joy, a place of dancing, and now there is just a deathly, deathly silence here. People had been making art, they were expressing themselves, and many of the people here are likely to have lost their lives.
We walked among the ransacked suitcases, personal documents, and an empty bar still lined with half-finished bottles. The silence briefly shattered.
Israeli troops are running to the other side of the festival. We've heard gunfire. It seems like somebody has come in.
This Palestinian man carrying a knife, according to the Israeli military, had somehow entered the grounds. He was quickly detained. With the site so vast, Israeli authorities struggled to collect all the bodies. Uriah Ricardo's family waiting 4 agonizing days before she was confirmed dead. And for the Israeli military, the festival site today echoes with painful questions.
There are so many families across Israel asking, where was the army? Why didn't they stop this? What do you tell those families?
I tell them it's the responsibility of the army. It's the responsibility of the army for the intelligence. It's our responsibility to guard the people of Israel. We failed on Saturday. This is our responsibility. But now we're fighting.
Fighting to make sure what happened here never happens again.
Meanwhile, the horror from that day still isn't over for so many families who still, right now, have no idea what's happened to their loved ones, including the family of Sharona Shmunis Harel. She was at that music festival celebrating her 40th birthday with friends on Saturday when her husband, Yotam, got messages from her saying, "They are shooting at me. I'm hiding." And those were the last messages. That's the last time they heard from her. Yotam and his brother, Ohad, they rushed to try to go find her, but they only found smoke, fire, and chaos. Sharona's brother-in-law, Ohad, joins us now. Ohad, I can't imagine the terror of driving over an hour down there in the middle of all that chaos, showing her picture everywhere you could, and then still, days later, no answers, right?
Right. Actually, we drove there. It was chaotic. We drove like between inside a war zone with fire everywhere and smoke. Nobody recognized her, or nobody could see anything. And the people who ran away from the music festival, they were all in a post-trauma, something like this.
And then when that, I guess, that whole area started to clear of people, and you were left still without answers. I imagine, did you go to hospitals? Did you go to the government? How do you try to find information in a chaotic situation like that?
Now, after 6 days and nights, still we didn't get any information. We went every day to the hospitals to try to get a name, and nothing until now. Nothing, no info, nothing. And the government now is dealing with the war. Nobody deals with the kidnapped people.
I know that Sharona and Yotam, they have 2 kids. Fortunately, their 2 kids are safe right now, but how do you talk to them after so many days of their mother being missing with no answers? What do you tell them in this unspeakable time?
The children now are under the family isolation. We try to keep them only at the grandmother's. That's it, nothing. They just know one thing, that their mom went to this music festival, and now we are looking for her, and that's it.
Oh, I can't imagine that hell of not knowing.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I want to ask.
The crazy thing is the not knowing. This is the crazy thing.
And right now we're starting to see, we're hearing talk of, possible rescues down the road, but we're also seeing this massive buildup and mobilization of force along the Gaza border. From your family's perspective, what are you hoping the IDF does right now?
Tell you the truth, I hope now, when we understood that it's under the Gaza area, I hope now the world leaders will stand next to our big ally, United States, and demand to free the people. It's not people that go to war. It's not, war, it's between countries. War, it's between army to an army. These people went to a party. There are young people, there are women, there are children. They just went to a party. Let them go.
Yeah. Civilians, paying the ultimate price. Ohad, we are so hopeful, and we are praying for the safe return of your family, and we hope that she returns soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll be right back.
The value that we place on human life and human dignity, that's what makes us who we are. And we count them among our greatest strength. That's why it's so important to take every possible precaution to avoid harming civilians.
That is Secretary of State Antony Blinken visiting world leaders across the Middle East this week. In his first stop there, Israel. Blinken spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, pledging U.S. support. Then he spent the afternoon speaking with survivors of those devastating attacks.
We managed to escape, but there were a lot of friends that didn't, and there are a lot of friends that are kept captive now in Gaza. And we were saved by miracle, but there are friends that we love that weren't, that aren't.
And Secretary Blinken is now in Jordan. He has plans to meet with King Abdullah and the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas tomorrow. NBC foreign correspondent Josh Letterman joins us now. Josh, I want to start off by asking, what is the latest on the Americans taken hostage by Hamas?
Well, as far as we know, they are still hostages in the Gaza Strip. We heard the U.S. Put a number on it today. They believe there are 14 Americans unaccounted for that they believe are likely now held hostage in the Gaza Strip. The U.S. is doing what they can to try to secure their release. But let's be honest, Gadi, there's not a whole lot that they can do. It's not like the U.S. has very much influence with Hamas. So they're trying to send technical and hostage experts to Israel to help, including the U.S. Deputy Special Envoy for Hostage Affairs. They are trying to work with third parties like Qatar and Egypt that may have some influence. But beyond that, it's very limited. But I spoke with many of the relatives of these detained Americans who had a chance to meet with Secretary Blinken today. And I want you to hear from Ruby Chen, who's the father of a 19-year-old Itai, a soldier in the Israeli military who was serving in the Gaza area. And I want you to hear what he had to say about what the U.S. is and isn't doing. Take a listen.
Are you satisfied the U.S. is doing everything it possibly can to bring your son home?
So we asked that question. Secretary of State, of course, could not go into detail exactly what they are doing, but it sounds like they have been turning every corner and to find ways to make this end as soon as possible.
I also asked these relatives, Gadi, the very difficult question that you just posed to a relative of one of those festival goers. What do you think the Israeli military should do right now when they are on the verge of what we expect to be a major ground incursion in response to this major terrorist attack, and yet they know that there are hostages, Israelis and Americans and others, who may be in the line of fire if Israel goes in? And these relatives told me, look, this is a dilemma. They don't exactly know what the perfect solution is. They know Israel has to act, but they also hope that there's a way that they can act that doesn't further jeopardize the lives of their loved ones who are in the Gaza Strip.
And Josh, we've heard from Americans that are stuck in Israel and in Gaza. Is there help on the way to get them out?
Well, for the ones that are in Israel, yes. The U.S. announced today that starting tomorrow, there will be options for people who are here who can't get on commercial flights because there are very few airlines still flying here. And so starting tomorrow, Americans will be able to take a flight, a chartered U.S. flight from here to either Germany or Greece, or there's also going to be boats going from here to Cyprus. And from those points, they'll be able to get normal commercial airplanes back to the United States. And we heard from Secretary Blinken in an exclusive interview with Lester Holt about why that is so critical right now. Watch.
So the challenge is that there are folks who want to return home. At any given time, there may be as many as 100,000 Americans here who are just here visiting family, loved ones, tourism, et cetera. And so there's a gap between the available seats because some carriers have suspended operations.
But the second part of your question, Gadi, was about Americans in the Gaza Strip. It's estimated there are some 500 or 600 Americans who are in the Gaza Strip, many of them dual nationals, and for them, much less prospect of getting out. The U.S. is trying to arrange some type of safe passage corridor, either over the border into Israel or more likely into Egypt for those Americans. But right now, there are really no signs on the horizon that that is going to be possible anytime in the near future.
And Josh, Secretary Blinken is making a point to make stops in other Arab nations while he's out there. How much of that is about trying to prevent an all-out war from spreading to other countries?
Yeah, that's the whole ball game right now, Gadi. I spoke with a U.S. diplomat today who said if Secretary Blinken comes home from this trip and Israel is only fighting on one front with the Gaza Strip, that is a win for Blinken. The big goal here is to try to prevent this from spiraling, from Hezbollah getting involved, from Iran getting involved, from other militant groups in the West Bank, from the Syrian government getting involved. And so a key effort from Secretary Blinken as he's traveling tomorrow to Jordan, meeting with the Palestinian president there, as well as after that to Qatar, which has a strong relationship with Hamas and other groups in the region, is to try to see what the U.S. can do to both create a deterrent effect and also diplomatic pressure to try to avoid having other parties in the Arab world get involved in this conflict, try to minimize it and keep it to between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip, hoping that that will reduce civilian casualties and further protect Israel's national security. Gadi?
A diplomatic mission with such high stakes. Josh Letterman, thank you so much. Hey there, welcome back. And here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez is facing more charges, accusing him of accepting bribes from Egypt's government and acting as a foreign agent. And the new indictment included these pictures that allegedly show him meeting with Egyptian officials. Menendez and his wife pleaded not guilty to corruption charges last month. And talks between SAG-AFTRA and the studios are suspended. The studios say the gap between both sides is too great, and SAG-AFTRA is now accusing studios of bully tactics and claims that they're refusing to counter their latest offer. Meanwhile, the United Auto Workers Union is expanding its strike against Ford after it rejected the union's latest offer. The UAW is now calling on more than 8,000 workers to walk off the job at a Kentucky plant, and there are now nearly 34,000 auto workers on strike across the three big automakers. And Sam Bankman-Fried's ex-girlfriend and former executive Caroline Ellison wrapped up testimony today in the FTX founder's criminal trial. Now, the court heard audio from Ellison's all-hands-on-deck meeting with hedge fund Alameda employees from last November, where she says the hedge fund secretly used billions of dollars of FTX customer funds. And take a look at this. At least 2 tornadoes touched down overnight along Florida's west coast. This is a siren, and this is how one man describes the storm.
It was like a freight train. It got really loud, and it was almost like I could feel the air getting, the wind like getting sucked out of the house.
Luckily, no one was hurt, but the storms did leave behind a lot of damage to homes and businesses. And we have some breaking news right now out of Washington, D.C. Congressman Steve Scalise has ended his bid to become the new Speaker of the House. This just one day after Republicans nominated him for that role. And here's what he had to say just moments ago.
I never came here for titles, and it's much bigger than me, and it's much bigger than anybody else. And nobody's going to use me as an excuse to hold back our ability to get the House opened again. We still need to get a speaker. And I'm going to continue to push as hard as we can to make that happen as quickly as it has to happen. But it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen today. It wasn't going to happen tomorrow. It needs to happen soon. But I withdraw my name.
Man, joining us now is NBC's Ali Vitale. Ali, what does this mean? Back to the drawing board?
Back to the drawing board, totally starting from scratch. They're currently still behind closed doors dealing with the aftershock of Scalise pulling his name out of contention and what that means for who comes next. Though I got to be honest with you, I'm not really sure why anyone would want to throw their name into the ring, given the way we saw the last speaker get treated and now the way that Scalise has really taken a beating just in the last 24 hours after winning behind closed doors with his conference, hoping to get to the floor and then realizing that he's nowhere close to that magic 217 number that he would actually need to become speaker. He spent a lot of hours today meeting with people who said they would either never vote for him or had concerns about voting for him. Those meetings didn't yield anyone saying that they had a different opinion after than they did before. And so that's why we saw Scalise go into this meeting tonight. We were not entirely sure why they were meeting, especially given the fact that nothing seemed to have substantively changed. Of course, this is now one of the key reasons why they were called to meet tonight. Even after some members already started leaving town, Gadi, when you see people start leaving town, especially in a numbers game like this one, that's when you know you got a problem. And it's very unlikely that we see them vote to actually put a new speaker in place, not least of all because we don't actually know what names they're even considering at this point.
And there's a very different numbers game going on, and that is the numbers on a clock. Like, we're what? Less than 40 days before the government could shut down again. That threat is looming. We've got, it's been days now since this attack in the Middle East. Is there a sense of urgency within Congress right now?
You'd think there would be, but I haven't seen it. And quite frankly, I think it's shocking. So many members that I've spoken to are pulling their hair out. I feel like they're going to come out of this meeting. We're going to be at the primal scream phase of this because they truly don't know where they're going next. And it's funny and the chaos is somewhat ridiculous, but it's also very real because I think for some people who may wonder why does it matter who the Speaker of the House is, especially at a moment like this where there's geopolitical tumult, there's questions about how to keep the government open and continue funding it. All of these need to happen, and they need to happen and can only happen if there is a Speaker of the House, because you need a Speaker of the House to actually move legislation through this building. That's really important and impactful for every American. And so as much as this is seemingly ridiculous and political farce, which certainly some people are finding that here in Washington, there are real world impacts here that are not going to happen today. They're not going to happen tomorrow. But when aid is needed in the Middle East and when we need to fund the government, those are going to be pretty crucial things where you want to look around and say, oh, yeah, there's a speaker and Congress can actually do that.
Well, Ali, I always appreciate your urgency. Ali Vitale, thanks so much for joining us.
I'm here for you.
We're also following some breaking news in the first trial of that 2019 death of an unarmed black man, Elijah McClain. Today, a Colorado jury convicted one of 2 officers charged. Now, Aurora police officer Randy Rodemo was found guilty of criminally negligent homicide and third-degree assault. Former officer Jason Rosenblatt was found not guilty on all charges. Sentencing is going to happen in January. Now, Rodema and Rosenblatt, along with a third officer, forcefully detained McClain before paramedics injected him with ketamine. McClain later died at the hospital. Now, Officer Nathan Woodyard, who put McClain in a chokehold, is set to go on trial this month, and the 2 paramedics who responded to that scene go on trial later this year. And coming up, we have heard a lot this week about the Iron Dome, the Israeli defense system that intercepts incoming rockets. But in Gaza, there's nothing to stop the incoming attacks. Richard Engel is going to show us what is happening in the Gaza Strip when we come back. Hey, welcome back. A ground invasion of Gaza by Israeli forces looks all but certain at this point. But for the millions of people still inside Gaza, there's fear growing because there is no way out. NBC's Richard Engel has more from the border tonight.
There's an air war in Gaza tonight, with Hamas firing barrages of rockets toward Israel to little effect. Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system launching tiny projectiles at supersonic speed, intercepting and destroying nearly all of them. Israel's airstrikes are not being stopped. They're slamming into Gaza, where there are no air defenses. The United Nations is sounding the alarm of a growing humanitarian crisis. Human rights groups are calling for civilians to be allowed to leave and for aid to enter the 139-square-mile territory that's home to 2 million Palestinians, 40% of them under 15. Israel says it will keep attacking Gaza until Hamas is destroyed. The Israeli military says it only targets Hamas. But what about the children? Medical officials say more than 1,500 Palestinians have been killed and 6,000 wounded. And those numbers could grow quickly. Israel's military is amassing tanks and troops along the border with Gaza. Its chief of staff saying now it is time for war and that the head of Hamas and all those who operate under him deserve to die. 22-year-old Palistia Al-Akkad lives in Gaza.
The media is barely covering any news because of the situation. There is no electricity, there is no connection. Like, Israelis are literally bombing everywhere, nowhere is safe. These words, life in Gaza, right now they don't make any sense to any Gazan living in here because we don't know what does the word life mean. We're expecting death at any minute. We're expecting that the whole Gaza Strip will be erased at any minute.
The Gaza Strip is bordered by Israel, the Mediterranean Sea, and Egypt. All exits are closed and blocked. Refugees are not streaming out. This isn't Ukraine. No one is taking in the people of Gaza.
We couldn't handle this amount of injuries, and it's just heartbreaking.
Dr. Sarah Al-Saka is a Palestinian surgeon based in Gaza. She says she's working 24-hour shifts, and when she can, is posting to social media to show conditions there.
No one can leave Gaza. No one can enter Gaza. There is no crossing borders, nothing left for anyone to do. It's a huge, big cage that we are trapped inside. And someone from outside is just keep on bombing, non-stop bombing, and there is nowhere else to go.
Israel says it had no choice but to attack, to disarm and deter Hamas, after more than 1,500 gunmen stormed into Israel, butchered entire families, desecrated their bodies, killed at least 1,300 Jews, and took hostages, including children and the elderly. Israel's reprisal is underway tonight. It is massive, intensifying, and could trigger a regional war.
Richard Engel, thanks so much. So where exactly are Israeli forces gathering, and what would a ground invasion look like on the map? NBC's Clint Watts is going to break it down for us. Clint?
Over the last 48 hours, you've seen Israeli forces clear some of their own territory of Hamas militants that have been there since the weekend. This has led to what is now a security zone developed by the Israeli military, pushing all Israeli citizens out. And that is what we believe to be in order so you can see an offensive combat force build up along the Gaza border. Today, if you looked at what's going on, you would see Israeli forces increasingly building up in this area here, with a likely thought that they'll go into Gaza as some sort of a ground offensive at some point and probably try and rescue some hostages. But inside Gaza, it's a very different scene. You're seeing all sorts of airstrikes throughout many of these corridors, Gaza City being one of the principal ones, also down here by Khan Yunis. And then separately, we have a humanitarian situation developing where lots of civilians are moving out of these urban areas and going to this area here down by the Rafah Gate. For the humanitarian situation, it's going to be extremely complex. And when we're looking at it, this Rafah Gate, which is down here, it is currently closed. The question is, will Egypt allow civilians to move back and forth across what used to be mostly for supplies? The next question will be, if Israel is going to do some sort of ground offensive into Gaza, what would they do? There are barriers between these areas inside of Gaza, and it's likely or possible that they might use their military forces to divide these areas and move in and try and isolate different sectors. Right now, we're seeing an incredible number of airstrikes, a lot of displaced humanitarian aid problems that need to be worked through. And when you look at the larger picture, you can imagine there's a lot of diplomacy going on to see, one, can they diffuse the situation in terms of displaced people from throughout Gaza, and then two, how will this unfold as they go after the hostages that are inside Gaza?
Clint Watts, thanks so much for that. Before we go, something you need to hear heading into tomorrow. Major cities here in the United States are on high alert, especially near Jewish buildings. We're going to take a very close look at the online chatter and tell you exactly what police are saying about threats here at home. Tomorrow, there is going to be high alert here in the United States. A former Hamas chief has been calling for what he describes as a global day of anger. And now police are ramping up security measures in cities with big Jewish populations like New York and L.A. They are also increasing patrols at Jewish synagogues, Jewish-owned businesses, and Israeli diplomatic buildings. And so far, both the NYPD and LAPD say, and we want to make this really clear, that right now there are no specific or credible threats, but that is not stopping both cities from requiring all personnel to report in uniform tomorrow. Frank Figliuzzi is an NBC national security analyst and the former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI. He joins us now. Frank, thanks so much for being with us. Look, we're not trying to over-sensationalize any of this. We're trying to take a very sober-minded approach. I was hoping that we could maybe just start with what New York Governor Kathy Hochul had to say about the precautions they're taking tomorrow. Let's take a quick listen.
We fully activated our Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Office of Counterterrorism. State police have been fully activated. We have a strong presence throughout the state, as well as here in the city. We're prepared to support NYPD at our Joint Operations Center. And if we need them, we have the resources of the New York National Guard and our Joint Task Force Empire Shield ready to be activated.
So, Frank, this is one of those weird times where it's, you know, reassurance to the public, but also stay on guard, right?
Yeah, you'll recall the old see something, say something after 9/11, and it's certainly applicable here. As you said, it's important to note, even the FBI today has stated there is no credible intelligence pointing to a domestic violent threat here, but we can point to decades of history and a cause and effect link between violence between Gaza and the Palestinians and Israel, and an increase in hate crimes here in the United States, particularly the highest month ever to have recorded the highest number of hate crimes in the U.S. was October of 2000. And that was after what's known as a Palestinian uprising called the Second Intifada. And then even going farther back in the 90s, following another Palestinian uprising known as the Hebron Massacre. Again, we saw a surge in anti-Semitism and hate crimes in the United States. So there is some solid reason to be concerned. And I think the increased police presence at logical sites, both, by the way, in the Islamic community and in the Jewish community, makes sense to me. The FBI director today, we know, Chris Wray, got on the phone with a Secure Communities Network, thousands of Jewish leaders across the United States, and reassured them that FBI and law enforcement generally are all over this, monitoring threats, and I think that's wise to do.
And Frank, from your vantage point, when you're watching the news and you're seeing protests here at home, you're seeing both sides, people supporting Palestinians, people supporting the state of Israel. Do you see those as potential soft targets for some sort of asymmetric attack here in the United States, or do you think that law enforcement has a pretty good circle of protection around those? I mean, we've seen throughout the week snipers on roofs watching some of those crowds, but does it make you nervous?
You know, here's the most concerning part of this, and that is, yes, indeed, protests, outdoor protests, large scale, do present soft targets. People need to be aware of that when they're deciding about whether to exercise their right to free speech or not, and where they are in the crowd, and to remain vigilant. But this should not, no one should infer from this that the highest level of threat is from, say, Hamas or violent jihadists here in the United States, but rather the concern that's paramount is that violent domestic extremists here would exploit this situation and take action on their own longstanding anti-Semitism. We're already in a high threat from anti-Semitic acts before this ever happened in Israel, and that they might try to blame any violent acts on Muslims, but rather they would be committing it here themselves. That's the paramount thing. The other thing is what we're already seeing is online activity, bots and trolls, likely from foreign actors who are simply trying to instigate and rile people up here. And people need to be aware of that.
Such a good reminder, even beyond tomorrow. Frank, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. More coverage on the war in the Middle East continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.